So, ladies, real quick, what does it mean when a woman says, "My husband doesn't see me"? Gentlemen, too, if you can chime in, if you're privileged enough to know what this means. I don't think most men know what it means. They might have heard it, but they didn't know what it meant. If anything, most men, the first time they hear this, they're confused. I don't see you. What do you mean I don't see you? What do you mean? I can see you. My husband doesn't see me. So, first attempt that you heard that, probably first time you heard that as a man, you probably did exactly what she's accusing you of, which you dismissed it. And she probably couldn't tell you that you're doing it too. So, so there's confusion everywhere. But I think it's more or less, for the most part, a feeling. And feelings are valid. Feelings are important. Feelings are everything. Feelings will destroy your marriage if you don't acknowledge them. It is what it is. All right. So the first story that I want us to dig in through today, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this particular lady who sent this email. Let's see. It says, back in Lagos, Nigeria, I was a bright young woman with dreams of starting my own business. Okay. I married my husband, who promised to support my ambitions. But as the years passed, I felt like I had become invisible to my own home. In my own home. My husband barely acknowledged me, too absorbed in his work and social life. I felt like a ghost, my dreams forgotten, and my voice unheard. The emotional neglect was suffocating, leaving me feeling worthless and lonely. That's a lot. Okay, now, I spent hours cooking my husband's favorite meal, hoping for a romantic dinner. He barely looked up from his phone. All right, so this phone thing is becoming a big issue in many households. Not just the phone, but the apps on the phone. Think YouTube, TikTok, right? Not so much Twitter, Facebook. All right. He barely looked up from his phone, muttering a quick thanks before diving back into work. I felt like effort meant nothing. I tried to talk to my husband about my loneliness and desire to start my business. He shrugged and told me I was overreacting, making me feel like my feelings didn't matter. On our anniversary, I planned a special evening, but my husband stayed late at the office. When he finally came home, he went straight to bed, leaving me heartbroken and alone. I suggest we go out for a weekend getaway to reconnect. He brushed off the idea, saying he was too busy, making me feel like I wasn't worth his time. I tried to engage my husband in a conversation about my day. He nodded absent-mindedly, not really listening, which made me feel unimportant and taken for granted. I tried to rekindle the spark by planning romantic dinners and dressing up, but my husband remained indifferent. I used to believe that if I just tried harder, he would notice me. I felt like I was running from the painful realization that maybe, just maybe, he never truly saw me at all. Okay, we're back to the see me stuff. The see me stuff. Honestly, I'll be very honest with you. Okay, till today, I just happen to know better, right? And I've kind of mastered some of this stuff, right? But if I go by how I feel as a man, my natural instinct is still okay, I don't see you. I do see you. That's my natural, right? But anyway, that's the first story right there. I want us to do me a favor. Let's ping everybody else into the room. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you can be notified when we go live. Okay, I want us to talk about this for as long as you guys are willing to talk about it. But I have a few tips off my sleeves. I have a few things I want to address as well. From as many perspectives as I can see. Okay. The first perspective that I tend to be able to see, obviously, is the person who is complaining. That's how I can see. It could also be, that's natural for men most times too, which is why men are naturally inclined to solve the problem. Once you complain to them, they usually can see how far, like, okay, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Like they want to give you an answer right away, right? But unfortunately for a lady, a typical lady, that's not how it works. And that's creating a lot of confusion in marriages, in relationships, everywhere. All right. Now, before I move forward, let me just tell you, tomorrow I do have a special guest. As you can see, tomorrow we're going to be talking about man, they suffer. Men also suffer. Okay. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. I have a special guest here, so make sure you don't miss it. So I will have a man here who has some experience with regards to some of the plight of men with respect to how women feel. He's married, so he can speak to a lot of this, but he also was in the game for a little bit before he got married. So that's something that we're going to be talking about tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you don't want to miss that. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get back to today's conversation. Invisible, can't see, won't see. Check me out. You can't see me. The issue here is men or women, we're different. We're very different. That's the first thing that everyone needs to start acknowledging. We're different. We're not the same. We're not the same. We can have equal rights at a society level. When we enter the zone of romance, we're different. Not only are we different, both sides expect the other side to move differently, right? The ladies want to be treated like a lady. She wants to be treated like a lover. The man wants to be respected as a man. Yes, just because he has a dick. Yes, exactly. Get used to it. Okay, he wants to be. We're talking about romantically involved now. Okay, he wants to be acknowledged. He wants to be respected. He wants to be admired. He wants to feel a sense of loyalty. Right? Even if he pretends he wants to feel it. It's just what it is. Yes, feelings. Men do feel. Okay. He wants to feel that. So oftentimes when we're having this conversation, people are just looking at things from their own perspective. But the reality is that there's the woman's perspective, there's the man's perspective, there's the society perspective, right? And there's this perspective that actually matters if you want to thrive, if you want to win at this game called long-term romantic relationships and marriage. If you want to win, you have to look at it from all those angles. Okay, so we're going to be tackling these stories from a lot of the standpoints that I usually pull up here today. The 6 basic human needs. We're going to pull it from that standpoint. We're going to pull it from the points of the 4 points focus that I've been highlighting for 3 years here. We're going to talk about the 7 purposes of marriage if it's related, but more importantly, we're going to talk about the poisons. The poisons that most people they're not aware of, but they, in a small way, they start to poison their relationship. Before they know it, they're at the divorce court and they're like, what happened?
I never expected it.
Yeah, so we're going to be tackling from that standpoint. Of course, the anti-seducers. So we're going to be tackling those things from that standpoint. Most importantly, we're going to tackle this from the self-power, social, seduction, attraction, and emotional intelligence standpoint. Let's tackle it like most people will tackle it first. Okay, let's tackle it like most people would tackle it first, shall we? All right, so again, I'm going to read it all over again for those of you that just came in. Back in Lagos, Nigeria, I was a bright young woman with dreams of starting my own business. I married my husband, who promised to support my ambition. Okay? He promised to support the ambition. He's probably in love, probably wanted a fine young lady and just wanted to support the ambition. He was saying anything he can say just to get you, Most people would say he was pretending, okay? I guess you could say it like that. Lois was pretending, okay. If that makes you feel good. But I think it's irrelevant if he was pretending or not, okay? If you make it relevant, then you're talking about your enemy. There's only one thing you should do with your enemy. You should leave him as soon as possible. You should escape, run away as soon as possible, okay? But if there's more to it, let's keep going. But as the years passed, I felt like I had become invisible in my own home. As the year passed, right? So some sort of evolution going on there. People are evolving, people are changing, life is moving, people are having children, right? See finish, they enter small. My husband barely acknowledged me, too absorbed in his work and social life. Okay? I felt like a ghost, my dreams forgotten and my voice unheard. The emotional neglect was suffocating. So what is it that you ladies mean by emotional neglect when you say that? Okay? Let's rewind back a little bit, okay? Let's rewind back a little bit. She said, okay? Let me go back a little bit. I'm coming. My husband barely acknowledged me. Too absorbed in work, right? So work is necessary part of life. But, men, sometimes we don't know where to draw the curtain and say, that's the end for today. We're going to call it a day. Sometimes we don't know how to do that, right? But she also said on social life, right? So a lot of African men, they also enjoy happy hour type of deal. Stop by, grab a drink or two before they come home. I think that's still a big thing in Nigeria. In the overseas, I don't think, not so much, okay? I have a lot of friends and I don't think many of them just, like, they might step out in the weekend, but just at 5 p.m., like after work every day, that's not really a thing here in the Japa. But in Nigeria, it's a thing. People will stop over, have a drink before they go home, right? So social life. So maybe social life on the weekends too. Maybe that's what she's talking about. She said, I felt like a ghost. My dreams forgotten. And my voice unheard. He said another thing to note, right? Remember when she said, he promised to support my ambitions, right? Oftentimes, that conversation we were having when we were dating and we're about to marry or all that kind of stuff, a lot of stuff you have to remind us later on. We might even forget like pieces of it and stuff like that. I know what you're saying. Like, okay, but how could you forget something that's so important to me? I know. I feel your pain on that. But that's the reality. Oftentimes, if it's something we keep talking about on a regular, yes. If it's something that, you start having children and then 7-8 years down the line, you're not trying to revisit that, and then we have 3-4 children running around the house who have a lifestyle built around that. It's a very, very difficult thing to work through. It's not easy. Obviously, it probably wasn't easy for you to bring that up because you probably feel a sense of fear. Like, I don't want anybody to shut down my dream. The fear of somebody shutting down your dreams is one layer. The fear that it's probably impossible because you probably have the fear of like where you're gonna get started from, because there's been years that you haven't been doing this, and then you're now talking about this new dream. Some ladies who say they want to become actress about 14 years into the marriage, but we'll get to that conversation later. You want to become what? An actress. Something that takes on a whole, that has its own lifestyle entirely. A lot of women do that too, But let's just say you always had a dream, you communicated this, you expressed it, right? The emotional neglect was suffocating, leaving me feeling worthless and lonely. Now, a person who has a dream inside of them that, it's like you're pregnant, right? And you can't express that, meaning you cannot give birth Like that's deadly. It's a deadly thing to happen to anybody. If you have a dream and you can't leave that dream, it's bad. But now when you have societal issues, societal forces and pressures, right? Of the societal pressure of a woman is supposed to just be a homemaker. When you had those layers on top of it, it gets to become a very complicated thing, right? So imagine also a woman who's walking around the house disgruntled, what's the word, cranky from time to time, and stuff like that. And the husband also, he kind of knows something is off, but is also busy with work, right? So maybe not just busy with work, maybe broke. Maybe he's trying to build a certain level of, maybe he's trying to build a certain level of financial competence, right? And then in the same breath, you're like, okay, you're gonna need me to work. Like you're saying in the back of your mind as a woman, like maybe I should go back to work. And his coconut head said, no, just stay home and take care of the babies. You can see all forms of these different type of stories. Remember, we're talking about a person, which I have a ton of them. My husband doesn't see me. That's what we're talking about. So now, leaving me feeling worthless. So imagine your husband is struggling financially and you can't work, and he's telling you can't go back to work, and you have a dream too, and you can't. That dream is also dead, right? It's a very, very complicated thing. It's a very, very complicated thing. So let's keep going. Let's see here. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Thank you. Hit the like button. So feeling worthless and lonely. Worthless and lonely. That's a crazy ass combination. Anyway, so I spent hours cooking for my husband's favorite meal, hoping for a romantic dinner. Okay, so in the midst of all of this, she's still trying to, okay, maybe I can do, be romantic a little bit. He barely looked up from his phone, muttering a quick thanks before diving back into work. I felt like my effort meant nothing. Again, additional levels of feeling worthless. Bezos said emotional neglect, disregarded, ignored, invalidated, and unappreciated. Yeah. That's what it means to you. I think it's on point. I think that's what I've been getting. All right. So again, how do you know as a man, and men do feel the same feelings, right? But they don't put it into those same exact words. A man might feel like you don't see them or their efforts, but they might feel like unappreciated. Unappreciated is probably very close to not feeling seen, right? Invalidated, men can feel that from their wife. Unappreciated but a woman might say, you don't see me, right? But let me keep going here. All right, so he barely looked up from his phone. The phone thing is a big deal. You gotta have some self-awareness around your phone, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm guilty as charged. You gotta have some self-awareness around your phone when you have a romantic partner that you do life together. Okay, you have to have some awareness around that. Think about it like this, right? You're not supposed to feel how they feel. Naturally, you're not supposed to feel that. Because why? You're being entertained, you're enjoying it, you're getting education, whatever you're getting from your favorite YouTube channel, like maybe Man of Prestige, right? You're like, oh, all I did 8 hours live stream, and then you sat down on the 8-hour live stream trying to consume it all at the same time. And, your partner is looking at you like, are you kidding me right now? See, you're not feeling what they feel, obviously, because you're enjoying the conversation. You're feeling like you're getting educated. You're feeling entertained, right? So it requires self-awareness. This is not common sense. Stop telling yourself that all you need is common sense. Because that already in itself tells me that common sense is not working. Because I'm not going to argue with you that you have common sense or not. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to tell you is that we all have common sense. We all have opinions, like assholes. Everyone got one. One thing that most people don't have is self-awareness. And again, When I say you don't have self-awareness, it's not an insult. It's like all of us, we're not born with self-awareness. It's a skill. It's part of the skill set you need. You need to just tell yourself like, hello, there's another human being involved, right? I don't want them to feel neglected. Okay? By the time they start tapping on your shoulder and saying I feel neglected, oftentimes it's too late. Because ideally, they will feel a lot better if they don't have to tell you. Sometimes they have to tell you. That's when you like to say, like, you communicate. Yes, you two should communicate. Okay, sure. Everybody knows what communication is. Everybody talks about communication all the time. I bet you already knew that communication is key in marriage too. They all know that. We all know that. There's some additional layers of things here that you need to start paying attention to. And most of us are born blind to it. You know, your parents probably didn't teach you too, for the most part. So this phone thing is a big part of it, right? The phone. It could be, listen, I know you have a valid reason. It could be work. You don't have to convince me. I know that it could be work. It could be something serious, something that, you're right.
You're right.
Like I said, I'm guilty as well. Okay, it's an ongoing thing because the phone is just, your work is on there. You can imagine for me, right? We have people reaching out for help, right? And sometimes, there's people in UK people in UK trying to text me at 2 a.m. in the morning. I happen to be awake, so I turn on the phone. Everything is dark in my bedroom. I turn on the phone, the light lit up the room. She's trying to sleep, right? And she's like, the light, and I'm like, but it's work. See, like I said, valid reason too, right? I'm right?
You're right.
It's funny that some people are very quick to talk about boundaries, but they don't know how it actually applies in real life, right? You have to separate, you have to self-awareness. When it comes to the phone, self-awareness. Your favorite YouTube channel, your TikTok, your Facebook, right? The notifications for most of those apps should be off. You should have a separate time when you go there where you say, okay, let me go check my messages. I promise you, listen, when I first started my career back in 2004-5, right? I was like, that could be money. I pick up every phone call, right? That could be money. I was obsessed, right? I picked up every phone call. So now I find out, like, okay, when it's like Friday by 12 noon, right? And like, okay, this deal gotta close. I have this deal that might close, or so I'll be calling people. I'll be calling these different companies, different professional people that can get a deal closed and stuff like that. All of them dead. They're probably in Miami somewhere on the beach somewhere. I learned very quickly that it's not that deep. Okay, they've turned off their phone. They have a separate phone. But for me, I was just very passionate about what I was doing. Of course, I wanted to close a deal, but by Sunday noon, everybody they shut down. Nobody's answering nobody. Nobody is talking to nobody. I don't care what industry you're talking about. Now, it's not every industry, obviously, but my point is that you should separate some time, especially when it's involving your partner. You have to have some self-awareness around the phone. The phone is a very dangerous tool. If you have some long stream or something, like for example, for me, whenever I do long stream or something, it's something that my wife is in on, right? But there's only so much they can take. So again, she said he barely looked up from his phone, muttering a quick thanks before diving back into work. I felt like my effort meant nothing. Now, in reality, he's not sitting there as, I'm gonna say, hey, she's useless, but the feelings are just as valid. When the person is caught up in that feeling, right, they're not gonna sit down there and be helping you process like, oh, he probably didn't mean it that bad like that. Oh, they're not gonna do that. I can do that because I'm not sleeping with you. Your partner might not be able to do that. They get caught up in their emotions. They start looking at you as the enemy, yet they can't leave you. So it's easier said than done when I say just leave, right? They can't leave you because you are married to them. They start to feel like, Abi, how can you claim that you love me? And then feelings. That's why you need self-awareness. That thing where that person should just be an adult. That person should just be an adult. Like, just be an adult. It's work that I'm doing. That's not gonna fly, okay? When they dump your ass, you will start remembering that it's not just a matter of adult. Both of you are children, and the fact that you think that way tells me that you are a child too. She's operating like a child. You are just as much operating like a child. She's caught up in her emotions. She's not capable of thinking for you that is work. She feels how she feels. You too, instead of you to say, okay, you know, maybe I could pay a little more attention. Let me make sure I take care of my duty, give some quality time, right? You two, you're not capable. You get caught up in your money. You taking a like, you two now help me I'm just trying to make some more money. You shall know that I'm struggling a little bit here. Like, okay, so now both of you are children. Okay, so congratulations. She said, I tried to talk to my husband about my loneliness and desire to start my business. Now, I find that I tried to interesting. I tried to talk to my... Did you talk to your husband or you tried to talk? Oftentimes, a woman might be afraid of telling you how they feel. Maybe they've tried before in the past and they're like, oh, you overreacted. So they don't want to feel that sense of that. They don't want to hear your mouth. Right? So every now and then they are like looking for the right timing to see if they can tell you. That all in itself is consuming lots of energy. The energy that person could be using to serve you and be loving you, they're using it to watch to see when's the right time they can talk to you. So that's how I'm reading that. I tried to talk to my husband about my loneliness and desire to start my business. He shrugged and told me I was overreacting. So now, if she gets that kind of reaction a few more times, right? Naturally, we all hate rejection. I don't like rejection. I don't know about you. I don't like rejection either. Okay? I do understand that rejection is part of life. As a man, as a salesman, as a person who has a business, who run business for so long, it's just part of life, right? But when it comes to my relationship, I don't want rejection too. You noticed Dr. Shala the other day was saying, like, I will try one or second or two times. After 2 times, I'm just going to ignore you, right? And then we turn around and say there's silent treatment, right? Why? Because you were disconnected from the time when there was a rejection, and nobody likes rejection. See, this is it's a vicious cycle, right? The only thing that's going to stop it is self-awareness. All right? That's not the only thing you need, but that's the thing that can stop that terrible vicious cycle. All right? So he shrugged and told me I was overreacting, making me feel like, okay, it didn't matter. Making me feel like my feelings didn't matter. So if they get that kind of feelings from interacting with you, naturally, they will probably avoid such pain as we move into the future. All right? Let's go. Yeah. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so that you're notified when we go live. All right. So she said on our anniversary, I planned a special evening where my husband stayed late at the office. When he finally came home, he went straight to bed, leaving me heartbroken and alone. Again, there's a repetitive theme of loneliness in what the story that's being told here, right? The loneliness. What happens when people are lonely? What do you think they're going to do? What do you think is going to happen when people are lonely? What is going to happen eventually, right? This person could be a Jesus baby. They're trying to do all the right things, but loneliness is whipping their butt, right? They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying. They have their morals, their standards, all of that, right? They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to do the right thing, but it's not working, right? It's not working because this is a human being. Okay? It's a human being. It's a human being. Eventually, something has to give. What's gonna give? Right? Either people completely fall out of love, they become empty nesters with a bunch of grown teenage kids. They're looking at each other in the face. And they're like, wait, whatever happened? Like, I don't think you ever loved me. That's an extreme, I guess. Right? Or some people like, well, I don't feel nothing for you anymore. What do you mean anymore? Since when? I don't know how long. I just haven't felt anything in so long. Right? So this woman now is going to be expected to be a strong woman. She should just be strong and stop being a baby. Stop being a cry baby. Stop being so needy, right? And just deal with it. Your husband has to work. Stop crying. Like, you're lucky. You might hear things like, you're lucky that you have a husband that goes to work. And here you are crying. Crying about the husband that's working. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. So this is a very this sounds like something that's very, very painful. Again, as a man, you might not be able to connect all the way with this story, but maybe you can connect with it. Just think about the outcome of a woman. Eventually something has to give. What could give? She could end up with a love interest somewhere, somebody that's giving her the kind of attention that, but how could she? Like, she should have some morals. I know, I'm with you on that too. I'm just telling you how it plays out sometimes. So what is that, a threat, some ultimatum? I should straighten myself? No, you don't have to do anything. You just have to be aware of the consequences of some of this type of things when it plays out in a lot of the marriages today. He brushed off the idea saying it was too busy. Okay, so I suggested we go out for a weekend getaway to reconnect. He brushed off the idea saying he was too busy, making me feel like I wasn't worth. Again, rejection. On our anniversary, remember, I planned an evening, but rejection. When he finally got home, he went straight to bed, leaving me heartbroken and alone. I tried to engage my husband in the conversation about my day. Okay, try to engage in the conversation. He nodded absent-mindedly, meaning she could tell he wasn't paying attention. Not really listening, which made me feel unimportant and taken for granted. I tried to rekindle the spark by planning romantic dinners and dressing up. Okay, so you know how you jump on internet street and they're like, dress up, you too, you do this, you do that. She's probably trying all of these different things, but my husband remained indifferent. Right? So she's actually still giving some level of grace. Indifferent meaning she's not saying he hates me. She's not like, just saying like, he's just like numb. Just life. Like, just life is lifing. A lot of people are like that for years, especially during the growing up years of the kids. I used to believe that if I just tried harder, right? She used to believe that if she just tried harder, he would notice me. I felt like I was running from the painful realization that maybe, just maybe, he never truly saw me. Maybe he was never really interested. Maybe he settled. Maybe he never really wanted her. These are the kind of things that will be playing out. And 200 plus movies will be playing out in our head. Nollywood movies. What could it be? What could it be? Because the only thing she's getting is indifferent. Right? So as you can see there, if you can connect what I'm saying, because this could be a man too. Just a man might not say things like I don't feel seen. Men might not say that. They might feel unappreciated. So think, as a man, just think about when you don't feel appreciated by your woman. Just think about that, and you keep trying. It just seems like nothing ever makes her happy. It's the same feelings. The feelings, the way a man might describe it might be different from how a woman might describe it. Either way, it's a very common situation and it's heartbreaking. All right. So how do we go about fixing this kind of issues, right? I'm with you, but we'll talk about that. There's another story here. Hold on 1 second. All right. Why don't I do this? Before we go into the other stories, do me a favor. If you're watching this later on, I want to know what your thoughts are. Share your opinions. What can she do? Right? What can she do? What are your thoughts and what can she do? What are your thoughts and what can she do? I'll be right back for the next story. We offer evidence-based relationship and marriage resources and coaching to help you navigate the difficult times.
Don't just wing it. Learn the principles that work.
Download our 2 free books and book your complimentary coaching session now at manofprestige.com.